Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're back here on League Unlock. Eric and Mark with you guys, as always, as the LEC rankings continue. And listen, the offseason for Europe, the storylines might be there for known players changing in North America, but all the young talent that comes through Europe, it really is the hardest to predict because you don't know how these young guys are going to perform on the big stage. And at AD carry this year, there's a lot of young blood coming in.
A lot of new talent here in the LEC, and especially at this AD carry position. And when you're looking at some of these names and the guys coming up here, really does feel deserved that this is kind of that next wave here of talent moving on through here. And hey, we've seen different levels of quote-unquote exoduses here, from NA stealing so much talent from EU, and every year seems that EU comes out even better at the end of it here with this young talent. And I think that this crop of young ADCs could be the start of that here.
Sven and Kabi are gone from Europe, and all of a sudden, still, these 10 players look absolutely stacked, and it is difficult to rank these guys, and there's really, even in at number 10, Bavoy coming over, that's not bad. Like, you've seen him, he didn't play much in the LPL, he only played 5 or 6 games with JD Gaming, and he's coming off destroying Brazil, so it's hard to really gauge what you're actually getting with him, but he is not a bad AD carry to be at 10.
He is certainly not a bad one at number 10. And when you're going off of what you're going to get, I think really, though, it is that kind of surprise mixed bag what we're going to get here. And that's why you got to have him starting here at number 10 because, hey, we did see not really the best of performances when he was with JDG. But when you're looking at his time in Brazil and some of the rumors coming out from the scrims there of what damage he was doing and how much he was just causing just disruption to the mental of the other team here because of how absolutely nasty this guy was on the Rift, he is certainly someone to watch heading into 2020.
The LEC is a very different animal than Brazil, of course. Karzi is a rookie making his debut with the Mad Lions. He's been hyped up in EU Masters and the regional scene for a long time, alongside Comp, who we'll get to in a minute. And people were maybe expecting Deadly to come in as well as another rookie ADC. But Crownshot does get the nod ahead of Karzi because he did have some carry performances for SK, and he was very clearly the second best player on that squad behind Selfmade.
Crownshot has certainly provided enough instances of the skill that we saw last year to say, you know what, I want to see more from him. I need to see that next level, more evaluation. Please hear from Crownshot. Need to see more.
He's going to have to step up with Selfmade not on the roster anymore. Trick coming in to replace him. And I know 8th sounds rough for Crownshot, but the 7 ahead of him are really talented. And Crownshot is not a bad AD carry. None of the guys on this list are anyone that you should be sleeping on. The 6-7 ranking is far and away the most interesting. They are the Greek god former and the Greek god current when you're talking about Comp, who is 17 years old, and of course, God-given, who was definitely the hardest AD carry to rank on this list since we haven't seen him in the LEC since 2016. Did see him at EU Masters, but who knows what we're going to get on stage with either of these guys.
Relatively solid performance at that EU Masters, looking
he did.
Pretty much like the Forgiven of old here. And if he's the Forgiven of old, he is certainly being, underserviced here at this spot in the rankings. But that is the big question. Are we going to get the real Forgiven here in these levels of performance on the LEC stage? And that really is going to be the thing that dictates just how far they will go.
Yeah, and you heard him do an interview with Darius on the Shot Caller talking about the game is different than when he used to play. You don't just stomp 2v2 in the bottom lane and completely outclass the opposing AD carry. It's all about actual team play, who is the strongest team. And for how little we've seen Forgiven and how big a break he's taken, there's no way you can just throw him into the top 4 immediately. But you've got to show some respect on how quickly this guy comes back to not playing the game at all for 6 months to a year, and he can get Challenger in 2 weeks.
Major respect here needs to be given, and this is one of those situations here I want to remind people of last year. It's not exactly the same when you had Perks switching down to the ADC position, but you couldn't just immediately put him right into the top here. We needed to see some validation, and it's a little different, obviously, given the situation, but Forgiven is another player that we have a lot of faith in his talent, but we need to see some results and that's where he finds himself on this list.
And if he plays even close to when he was last on the LEC stage, he will definitely end up being higher on these rankings in spring. But it's been a long time. There's almost a 10-year gap between him and Comp, who are, again, the two Greek ADCs coming into 2020. We hit the top 5. Hans Sama leaves his only team, really, in Misfits that he's played for in his still relatively young career. Hans Sama's only about 20 years old. It sounds like he's still been playing for 3 years, but with Rogue, Vander in the bottom lane, Hans Sama should get back to 2017 form.
We need to see that rebound here from Hans Sama. Too much potential being wasted here by years of not reaching that level of play, and especially last year, seeing him paired up with Gorilla. We thought that was going to be it. Didn't see it, didn't happen, didn't get the results that we needed. Needs that type of new home, new start here for Hans Sama with Rogue.
And for Patrick, it's a new start on Excel with Norskaren. He was not the issue at all for Origin. He had a fantastic full year, really, and we were talking about him as almost a third-team All-Pro AD carry, but Upset is still an upgrade over for Origin, and I think this is really the year. It's the best roster Upset has probably been a part of. This is maybe the chance or opportunity for him to really step in to that top 2 and compete with the big boys in Reckless and Perks.
And especially when you're thinking about where this the carry performances are really going to be coming through for the side of Origin here. Yes, of course, Nuke Duck will be relied upon, of course, as always. But when you're thinking here on this addition, this is exactly why Upset was brought in, to be this pillar, be an absolute elite player at this position, and to dish out the damage when required. The carry performances, they will be there for Origin this year, and you're going to see a lot of them coming through the hands of Upset.
And Xerxes fitting in that lineup as well. You know that a lot of attention is going to be given down to that bottom lane of Origin. Destiny's going to be the big question mark. How does he fit with Upset? And if he struggles on the LEC stage, obviously that's going to be a big detriment or hurt to Upset. But he's played with a lot of different supports already in his career and has performed pretty darn well with every single one of them. So expect Upset to take another step towards being one of the best AD carries in Europe. But he's still just short of that top 2 after the years that we saw throughout all of 2019. Even though Reckless was on karma duty, a lot of these games you saw again at Worlds. Xayah, Kaisa, the guy has mastered both of those champions, and he finally did it. He finally took down Uzi on the international stage, and he went toe-to-toe with Perks in those finals. Reckless, absolutely number 2.
Hey, getting the edge on Uzi, that has got to be great for Reckless there personally, and then here, his year with Fnatic, obviously not ending how he would like it to go here, but another chance this year, and I really like his chances again with a revitalized squad here for Fnatic here with the changes, and he has really proven again consistently the performances are always there on the traditional marksman. That damage will always come through as Reckless is there.
And he gets his 3rd straight year with the same buddy in the bot lane in Hillisang, who, of course, can be a coin flip support at times. But you talked about when Perks initially role swapped and we did those rankings. I think we had him around 6. You couldn't just throw him number 1, but after a full calendar year where he played in pretty much every possible game, he was flexing mages and more so at Worlds, really showing that this guy's development and growth as an AD carry in 1 year was absolutely incredible. And of course, he still had the biggest champion pool of pretty much any bot laner at Worlds. Yasuo, Syndra basically permabanned and basically redefined the meta single-handedly in the bottom lane.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, he is the best Yasuo ADC player, because I can tell you what, a lot of ADCs, we're not so good at playing Yasuo because
we're a little underwhelmed.
Going in, we tend to int quite a couple times here. Perks, though,
and he did a bit against SKT before that quadra kill.
But
that's all you remember.
There is no one that gets the better 1-in-6 power spike than Perks here on that Yasuo. Gotta love that type of power spike. He is your number 1 ADC in the LEC region. Yes, you said it. He was someone that we had to put further back in our rankings at the start of last year, given making the position change here, but certainly proved his worth here, proved that elite skill, rises to the very top here. Number 1 ADC moving forward in the LEC region.
And the beauty of Perks was positioning was an issue early on in spring. because he was playing so aggressively, but he cleaned up his positioning while still being incredibly aggressive in a lot of these team fights that you saw with G2, and he was racking up double-digit kills a lot of these games, so he kept his play style and just cleaned it up, which is a big kudos to him.